What if I told you the race to build the ultimate artificial intelligence isn't just some tech bro competition? What if it's actually a suicide mission for all of humanity? Well, today we're diving into a really chilling warning from an AI insider who believes exactly that. And stick with me because this warning leads to an even bigger, more mind-bending question. What if the very tech threatening our future is also the key to realizing our entire reality isn't what it seems? Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't some forecast about AI making our jobs a little different. No, this is a 50-50 shot. It's one of two things. Either we are completely gone, or our world has changed so fundamentally that we wouldn't even recognize it as human existence. According to this insider, those are the only two stops left on this train, and we're picking up speed. Okay, so before we get to the really wild, reality-bending stuff, let's just focus on the immediate danger. First up, a stark future. Why on earth is the quest for superintelligent AI being framed as an existential threat? So how do you even begin to stop something like this? The argument here is that things like laws and regulations, they're basically useless. I mean, think about it. You can't find an AI that just deleted the stock market, and you sure as heck can't throw it in jail. The only lever we might have is to appeal to the raw personal self-interest of the people building it. The message has to be crystal clear. I don't care what you think is going to happen. You, personally, will not survive the world you're creating. But why is controlling a superintelligence so different from, any other big tech problem we've ever solved? Well, the argument is that it's not just hard, it's fundamentally impossible. And to get why, we need to talk about something called the impossible problem. Right, so this is a really important idea from computer science. See, a difficult problem just means you need a faster computer or a smarter algorithm. But an impossible problem, that's something that has been mathematically proven to be unsolvable. There's no answer. And the terrifying claim here is that making sure a superintelligence stays friendly to humans, well, that falls into the impossible category. You can't solve it, ever. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. You can see the pattern playing out in real time. These big, ambitious AI safety teams get announced with all this fanfare. OpenAI formed a team, gave themselves a 4-year deadline to solve the whole superintelligence alignment thing. And then just a few months later, poof, the team was quietly shut down. This isn't just one company failing. It's a repeating pattern that really suggests they are hitting a wall that they just can't get through. So, if we accept that controlling superintelligence might actually be an impossible problem, what does that mean for all the people racing to build it right now? Well, it kind of reframes the whole project, doesn't it? It stops being progress and starts looking a lot more like a suicide mission. Let's make this really personal for a second. Imagine I offered you a deal. 99% chance you get $1 billion, tax-free. But there is a 1% chance you die. Instantly. No way out. Would you get in that car? I think most of us would say, no way. The risk is just too catastrophic, right? But here's the thing. It's so much worse than that. This isn't just about a personal risk that a few CEOs are taking. This is a global gamble. They're not just rolling the dice for themselves. They're rolling the dice for every single one of the 8 billion people on this planet. And they're doing it without our permission. And this, right here, leads us to a massive ethical problem. I mean, in any other field of science, if you're going to experiment on people, you absolutely need their informed consent. But how can humanity consent to an experiment when the outcome is totally unknown and could literally wipe us all out? You can't. So by its very definition, the race to build AGI is one of the biggest, most unethical experiments in human history. Thinking about this insane level of technological power, the power to create a new form of intelligence, actually led this insider to a totally different and maybe even more profound idea. This is where the whole story takes a sharp turn. What if this technology isn't just a threat to our future, but it's also the key to understanding our present? Welcome, my friends, to the simulation argument. So how in the world does the threat of AI lead to the theory that we're living in a simulation? It's actually pretty simple. We are getting shockingly good at creating simulated worlds. I mean, just look at the most advanced video games, the most immersive VR. Now, just imagine that level of tech, but a few decades from now. If we're on the verge of creating realities that are indistinguishable from our own, it becomes almost a statistical guarantee that a more advanced civilization has already done it. See, the case for this isn't some philosophical debate. It's just a game of numbers. Look at the steps. First, we build AI. Then, we perfect virtual reality. Then, it gets super cheap and easy to run simulations. So, what happens next? Of course, we're going to run billions of them. For science, for movies, for video games, you name it. And all of a sudden, for every one real, base reality, there are billions and billions of simulated ones. So you just have to ask yourself a simple question. Out of all those realities, the one original one and the billions of fake ones, what are the odds that you, yes, you, just happen to be in the single original one? While the statistical answer is just mind-blowing, the chances you're in base reality drop to something like 1 in a billion, or maybe way, way less. Okay, let's just let that sink in. Let's assume for a minute the stats are right, and we are living inside some cosmic computer program. What does that actually mean for us? This is life inside the game. Does it change anything? Does it make all of this, our lives, meaningless? Well, the insider's answer to that is a hard no. It doesn't make it meaningless at all. Think about it like this. A character in your favorite movie doesn't know they're in a movie. Their joy, their sadness, it's all completely real to them. It's the same for us. Even if this is a simulation, pain still hurts. Love is still love. The things that we care about, the things that give our lives meaning, are just as real and important as they ever were. But being in a simulation does open up a really fascinating door. If our universe was designed, then we can look at its features, the good and the bad, almost like a detective examining a crime scene and try to figure out what our designers were like. So, what can we figure out? Well, on one hand, whoever or whatever created this reality, they must be absolute geniuses. Unbelievable artists, scientists, and engineers to build a universe with this much beauty and complexity. But on the other hand, given the sheer amount of random suffering, pointless tragedy, and horrible diseases, the insider concludes that they are, and I'm quoting here, not so good with morals and ethics. To put it lightly, there is a whole lot of room for improvement. And that leads to this final, really provocative thought. If our world was created, maybe it was created for a reason. Maybe, as the slide says, this whole thing is a kind of test. And depending on how you do, there's a better simulation you go to next, and maybe a worse one too. It's almost like a high-tech version of reincarnation, built on one of the oldest questions we've ever asked ourselves. What is all this for?